Hello again, Struck Club. Today I'm bringing you another build video for Warhammer Chaosbane, and this one is for Konrad Vollen, the soldier class. It is version 2.0 of another build I had in December. Back in December it was called Holy Justice, and it's a build centered around the Solan's Fate or Solan's Ghost set, which gives you the heroic version of a Justice of the Empire set. That's why we've called this build Holy Justice 2.0, simple in case someone ends up searching for the old build and finds this one. So this build kind of got heavily broken and nerfed, but in a bad way after the Forges update this spring, because the main source of survivability for the build was from the Thrice Blessed Copper Medal, which allowed us to keep healing for 20% HP whenever we use a god skill, and this also worked with the pew 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 beams of Sigmar's Bastion. Now this doesn't work even with the initial cast of god skills, and it's probably gonna get fixed to at least work with the initial cast of the god skills. I think they tried to nerf it and broke it. Now there's two ways to get survivability, and the footage you're seeing is using both of them together. One of those ways is using the legendary rank passive legendary healing, which allows you to heal while using or have a chance to heal while using an energy consuming skill. And we're using this charging skill, as you can see, to move around the map, break through the ranks, as I like to call it, tickle the ranks. This lets us have a chance to heal up, but it's kind of broken. No surprise there, it's broken and it doesn't always proc, even at 50% chance, which is the max. Sometimes it just gets broken and stuck and it stops procking. And this is why enter Medic's Pavis, a shield that gives you a passive heroic Wisdom of the Apothecary, which allows us to kind of have a chance to make those potions on the ground that you could pick up to heal yourself, and it also reduces the cooldown on the potion. So it's definitely a nice passive, but you're kind of forced to sacrifice damage and damage reduction and block chance or whatever else you prefer to have in that slot. So I still like the build how it was in December more, but here's how it is. I'm gonna show you in the skill section what you can take if you're not using this shield and this passive, if you're just using legendary healing. So here's the skills. For this build, my suggestion regarding the skills would be like this. The important ones: Heroic Justice of the Empire, Basic Sigmar's Blessing, and Mastered Sigmar's Bastion. Now here anything would be fine. I rarely use that skill, but Incisive Breakthrough has extra damage reduction, so if you end up needing to use the basic skill, you could use it. If you want more movement, you can try and somehow rearrange the skill to include Shield Charge, but you're gonna have to find one point, and it depends on how you set the other skills. Here, Break Through the Ranks, just the basic one. It's our source of healing as a result of the legendary healing, which is very broken, and as you heard, it sometimes doesn't work. Sometimes I would spend like 60 seconds or so just running around like this, trying to heal, and it just won't heal and it won't proc. That's why Wisdom of the Apothecary is something I would strongly suggest having just as a backup plan in case this fails you. So this is to get you to move. Don't rely on the knockback. This repelling effect is super weak. It's tickle the ranks instead of break through the ranks. And the banner. The banner I really suggest using Mastered Damage Reduction banner that gives you crowd control if there are enemies like the bull guys or like the enemies in Act 3 that can pull you. So if you want to avoid crowd control, use that one. Otherwise use this one, and then you can get points to maybe place Shield Charge here, or you can use, if you want more cooldown reduction and damage and you don't need the damage reduction, you can get Banner of the Empire Superior. So that's one version. That's another version, and that's the most survivability and crowd control reduction version. So if you do this option, you have more points. That means this can get upgraded into that one, into the... Actually, we're already upgrading that. Alright, never mind. It means that if you don't need Wisdom of the Apothecary, you can do something like this. Remove this skill and then add Indestructible Mastered. This is another option, and this option works with the banner Superior, regardless whether it's damage reduction or extra damage and cooldown. The Superior banner would allow you to do this. So you're basically downgrading Divine Judgment, removing Wisdom of the Apothecary, and adding Indestructible Mastered in its stead. But again, my suggestion, because Legendary Healing seems broken, would be to just stick to the best possible Indestructible and the best possible Divine Judgment, then the best possible Blessing of the Brave, the Mastered Herald of the Empire, Wisdom of the Apothecary, Padded Armor, Duelist Chain Reaction, and then whatever you're seeing here. For those skills, Legendary Healing is a must-have, and even with 50% chance, I said it's broken, sometimes it just stops working, and I don't know what's causing it. I've seen different situations where I would be bleeding, I've seen situations where I wouldn't be bleeding, there's not gonna be any debuff on me, and still it sometimes just stops working. I really suggest using Legendary Reinforcement and Legendary Crushing. You would be using a cooldown skill a lot, you would be using a cooldown skill very often, and you would be hitting enemies very often. This would give you damage, so it probably would be a bigger priority than this one. It gives you 10% less damage reduction when maxed out, but it gives you 50% damage, so I'd rather focus on Legendary Healing and Reinforcement, and then eventually move into Crushing and Endurance, maybe even Punishment once you have the ranks. Legendary Rage is the one you really don't want on any build, on any class. Those explosions seem to be super weak right now. So I think that's it for the skills. Keep in mind my gear was weak, and you're gonna see what gear I was using and what gear I suggest using and what rows I suggest using in the gear section. Now let's talk about the god skills. The god skills aren't that much different from my god skills in the build that I uploaded with this set in December. It's actually exactly the same. First of all, we're taking Divine Judgment Mastered, and on the way we're getting this fork for 30 crit damage and 12 damage for the price of 5 HP. On the way you're also grabbing Sigmar's Blessing, which we need. And then on the other god skills, and this requires the god skills DLC. If you don't have the god skills DLC, you won't be able to get this one, so keep that in mind. The god skills DLC is part of the Seasons Pass, and the Seasons Pass is included in the Magnus edition. So the Season Pass would allow you to have every single DLC currently out and any future DLC. So here we're taking Blessing of the Brave Mastered. On the way we're picking up Sigmar's Bastion Mastered, and we're forking out here for 12 damage for the price of 5 block damage, and also for energy on the way. Alternative option would be to remove those points and you're losing 24% damage, which is a lot, and then to get that extra cooldown reduction. It is 10% cooldown reduction, so if you really need it you can get it, but I prefer playing this way myself. But if you have an insufficient cooldown reduction in your items, you might wanna rework some things. So that should be it. I don't think there's much flexibility. Of course you can try and get this crit damage, but you're better off getting, instead of 60 crit damage, getting that 12% damage. So let's move on to the gear segment. So for the gear you can see the Solan's Go, Solan's Fate set is what you need for this build. It would work in similar way with other sets if you don't have this one completed. You just have to, just gonna have to rework some things to make room for other skills like the shielded charge or things like taunt and so on. So, Blade of Vengeance is the suggested weapon. It got kind of nerfed damage wise, but it can get up to 30% damage reduction when you max out the stacks. The amulet I would suggest is not the one I'm wearing. I would suggest something like, where was it, this one. Hitting an enemy has a chance to reduce the current cooldown and grant energy. This is a nice amulet. If you're playing in a team and you can handle taking more damage, you can do this one, but I don't suggest it. So this one seems to be okay, and this one is not bad. Enemies that would be taking more damage are enemies that are within non-melee range. So even if they're like 2-3 meters away from you, if you can't hit them with melee, they would be considered far off enemies, I believe. The developers really need to be more transparent regarding far off and nearby enemies, but from my observation that's how it works. You're gonna be taking 10% more damage, so I would suggest ignoring this one and just trying to go for that meadow. When Thrice Blessed Copper Meadow is fixed to be able to heal when using Sigmar's Bastion and Sigmar's Blessing initially, even if the pew pew pew, this pew 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 doesn't heal you like it used to before. When they fix it to at least get healed when you initially cast the god skills, that would be another option. Now for the rings, there's some flexibility, but I strongly suggest Signet Ring for Fortification, because you really want more HP and you want that damage reduction, even if it costs you a lot of damage. Then there are a few good options. One good option would be a good road Signet Ring of No for more healing and energy regen. Another one would be Signet Ring of Retribution to keep resetting your cooldowns, to keep reducing your cooldowns. And then you have a purple Signet Ring, which would give you damage and chance to reduce your cooldown time by 2, but you have to be picking up Bloodlust Orbs. So I think the developers really need to change the mechanic of those collecting a red Bloodlust Orb ring, like the purple Signet and the... where was it? This one, Fortitude, where you need to pick up orbs. I think they need to increase the pickup radius of those orbs for each of those rings equipped, and maybe when you have 2 of those, to get an extra bonus to that pickup radius, then that would be super nice. So this is good if you need extra damage reduction, but you have to keep roaming around to pick up orbs. But that's my suggestions. Preferably Fortification, Retribution, maybe No, maybe Signet, and maybe Fortitude, based on what you prefer and how you wanna play it. For the rings, suggested shield. Right now I really would like you guys to be using Medic's Pavis, because it gives us the heroic wisdom of the apothecary. But if you can handle the glitchy legendary healing, in theory you wouldn't need to be using this shield if the legendary healing wasn't glitched. So if you can handle it, then get anything that's a good road. See, this shield is much better than mine, because it gives me some extra armor piercing, it gives me more damage, it gives me HP, which my current shield doesn't, and in general a better shield. Of course, I wanted to use it and I was using it for some of the recorded footage, but with that glitch of legendary healing not working, I decided to go back to using the Medic's Pavis. So keep that in mind, get good rolls. I'm gonna talk about the rolls in a moment. So yeah, Blade of Vengeance is a good sword. Alternatively, you might wanna work around a setup that uses taunt in one of the skill slots to make sure that you can constantly get the enemies to take 100% damage, rather than relying on building those stacks, which relies on you blocking successfully. Or you can get more damage reduction and healing, but then again you're not gonna have that extra damage, so up to you. I would strongly suggest going for Blade of Vengeance though. Now for the rolls, you want on the helmet cooldown reduction, HP and armor as a priority. Resistance to damage over time is not bad, it's okay to have it, but try to get something with as high cooldown reduction and HP and armor as you can. Cooldown reduction and HP being the priority. For the breastplate and legs, the same rules apply, except you don't have cooldown reduction, so just get high maximum HP, high armor, maybe high health regeneration and high resistance to damage over time, but HP biggest priority, armor second priority, the rest is just quality of life. Same for the tassets, as I said. Boots are the ones that you can get movement speed on, so I would suggest get something with movement speed and then again high HP, high armor, resistance to damage over time or health regain is a good option, but not really the most important ones. Now this brings us to the gauntlet, to the gloves. Here you want damage. Even if you don't have crit damage, you want flat damage. Especially on a green item, 6000 something up to 7000 flat damage is so much more important than 35 or 40 crit damage. Just keep that in mind, to get damage here, then get HP and then get armor. The crit damage should be like number 4 in the priority list, unless you want to sacrifice some armor, that's still fine, I guess, but I would strongly suggest going for damage, HP, armor and then anything else. For the amulet and rings, the same stats are important. As much cooldown reduction as you can get, as much crit chance as you can get, then something like flat damage and HP is good. Armor piercing and crit damage should be the next in the priority list, but number 1 is cooldown reduction and crit chance, you want those two. Number 2 would be HP and damage, or maybe damage should be number 2, HP should be number 3. And number 4 in the priority list would be anything like crit damage, armor piercing, and health drain should be probably in the priority list around HP or damage. You want health drain. It shouldn't be as high priority as cooldown and crit chance, but you want health drain to be in the rows on a medal or on the rings. Now this brings us to the weapon rows. You want cooldown reduction, you want flat damage. Armor piercing is good, but it shouldn't be that big of a priority, and since you can get crit chance on this, you probably would want to get crit damage as well, because the crit damage here goes up to like 80 and you would want to get HP. So for me this cost reduction and counterattack damage could be replaced with HP and health drain. You want health drain too. So ideally what you see here, except instead of cost reduction HP, instead of counterattack damage, health drain. For the shield rows, you want the same things as on the sword, except you want crit chance and cooldown reduction as the highest priority. Second priority would be damage, and then you get HP, you get health drain, you get armor piercing or crit damage as a lower priority, and you really want on the high priority chance, high block chance and high block damage. Even if the block damage is not that much, you do want high block chance because we really need to be blocking. So the highest possible cooldown reduction, crit chance and block chance would be the top 3, then get the damage, HP and health drain, and then worry about crit damage, armor piercing and other stuff. And I think that's it. I think that's it for the rows in the gear and what to look after. Now I can go ahead and talk about a little bit regarding the blessings. I think you need to figure out an amount of HP you are confident with. Once you have enough HP, and for HP you want to be using 6 green with the God token. This gives you up to 20,000 HP, between 18 and 20,000 HP. So get enough HP, get HP that you are happy with, and then start doing the damage and HP options. So one option would be this one. This gives you up to 8000 HP and 3.6 thousand damage. Another option would be this one, more balance, 6000 HP, 4000 damage. And then there's this option where you get even more damage and even less HP, 4.4 thousand damage and 4000 HP. Make sure you have the links and make sure you have the God token. So find your balance in regards to how much HP and how much damage you want. I don't suggest going for anything else like crit armor, crit chance, etc. Don't go for the others. It's not gonna give you that much damage or survivability compared to those. So that's it for the blessings. Next you're gonna see some more gameplay. So here we are at the gameplay segment, and for this segment I wanted to show you a little bit of variety of how one might play the build with the other skills I showed you in the skills segment. What you're seeing right now is me, as you can see, using the superior banner for damage. So I'm using the damage and cooldown banner here, and I'm not using the one for damage reduction and crowd control. In the first parts of the video you only saw me using the mastered version of the defense, damage reduction and crowd control banner for the two maps that you saw so far in the video. For this map, as you can see, a little bit of the damage one and with the more cooldown, so you can see bigger crits, and you can see my cooldown is probably proccing more often. But I have to be a bit more careful, and yeah, I don't have that crowd control immunity, so I have to be careful to not get pushed away as well. And you see I'm not using the medic shield in this one, so I'm using my other shield that I showed you. That means I'm not relying on the medic potions, I'm only relying on the legendary healing for health. And since it gets bugged so many times, I can't tell you how many times I died while recording this and the other two maps that you would see in this segment. So I died a lot, mostly because of this bug where legendary healing just stops proccing. So let's speed things up for this fight, so you can see quickly a little bit more from the other ones. If you're gonna see more combinations after this troll fight, and fucking trolls, they do take a lot of time to kill with all that healing. A map where again I'm not using the medic shield, as you can see. Or actually no, on this one I am using the medic shield, but I'm using the big damage reduction circle, the big damage reduction banner that doesn't give me crowd control. And you can see in a moment I'm gonna open the screen, the skills passive screen. If you want you can pause while I do so to check what I was using, but I was using the wisdom of the apothecary, and as you see I tried to put the one and I replaced it immediately, the one with the crowd control. So I was using the one without the crowd control, and then I started using the one with it. So this one would also get some playback speed ×3 when we reach the boss fight. So bear with me, in a moment you're gonna see that. Let's just finish this fight, and then I'm gonna speed up the boss fight a bit so we don't have to use up that much of your time. You're probably gonna notice, but this fight kind of took longer than the troll fight. Although with the troll fight I didn't start the speed up sooner, so maybe it kind of took the same amount of time. But in any case, it felt like this fight took a lot longer. And it makes sense, because here I'm not using the damage buff. I'm not using the banner with the extra damage, I'm using the other one. But here it was a bit easier to keep standing in place and to keep building the damage reduction and the damage stacks from turret armor and from my Blade of Vengeance. And so what would be the verdict from me on this build? The verdict would be you really need health drain, and I didn't have it. I had 0 health drain. You probably would wanna have a little better items than I did, and until they fix at least legendary healing to proc more, the medic's pavis seems like the best choice of a shield, just to have that extra survivability, because you're not doing damage when you're dead, and when you die you kind of end up wasting a little bit more time. So if you want to be more meta and want to be thinking about surviving, you would want that shield. Also, I would not suggest doing Chaos 9, just for 300 more wood quality. I think you're gonna be much better with this build on Chaos 8 for now. Chaos 10, someone was playing a similar build when I was doing different characters, so someone was grouped up with me with a similar build. I'm not sure exactly how his passives and god skills were, but it was pretty similar in any case. And we were doing Chaos 10, and with the team in Chaos 10 this could be nice, because you could get buffed for both damage and survivability from your teammates. But for now I would really suggest going to Chaos 8 for this. And as I said, this build with very slight reworks can work for the Meteoric or for the Blazing sets. The Blazing set would actually be pretty nice if you're farming something easier, so you can just keep using the Break Through the Ranks skill, and then you can keep pulling enemies closer to you, vacuuming them like a Condemn Crusader in a way. And if you want to see more builds for this or other classes, feel free to leave me comments and let me know, even on Discord if you want to. So if you need help, hints, tips how to play this build or any of my other builds or any build in general on any character, feel free to hop over to my Twitch or YouTube channel. You can live chat with me, you can leave me a comment and I can reply to that comment when I'm available. You can also find me on my Discord server. Link in the description for that, and you can always chat with me over there if you need some help with anything. If you enjoyed this video, you could subscribe to my channel to get notified for more content updates for games like Chaosbane, Torchlight 3, Wolves and Words of Mayhem, or other similar isometric shooters, or as well sometimes for Borderlands 3 content. Thanks for watching the video, folks. Keep it cool. Until next time, and goodbye.